Wes Rowden. Wes, good to see you this morning.
Nice seeing you.
Welcome,
I'm amazed
welcome.
by your office here. It's like a little bit of everything in every corner. It's
Yeah,
great.
I know. Well, we just got done with election coverage last week, and
I assume that's what
it's a talk of the town still after a week.
It is. That sheriff's race is just
Incredible.
amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, let's learn a little bit about yourself.
I'm an attorney in Meadville. I live in Cambridge Springs.
Okay.
I have 2 grown children. My wife is an attorney as well. She's an attorney in Erie. I do mainly bankruptcy and criminal defense work. I was in the DA's office in Meadville in Crawford County for 6.5 years. That's going back to 96, though. So it's been a while. And I've been a defense attorney in the criminal realm since then. And then I've been doing bankruptcy. I got into bankruptcy because when I set up my office, wasn't in the phone book or anything yet. And the guy across the hall was doing credit counseling. And so it worked out really well.
Yeah. At what age did you know this is the direction you wanted to go?
At what age?
Yeah. Was it early on or just...
I know exactly when it was. There was a show in the 70s called Petrocelli.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like Marcus Welby of the legal world. And he was a Wall Street attorney, and he gave it all up to be a small-town attorney, that one-on-one service. And I thought that was the coolest thing, where people would go to him and they'd have these earth-shattering problems in their lives, and
Right.
he'd be able to take care of them.
you
Just
ever-
like Marcus Welby always cured his clients.
Well, doctors always say it's frustrating when clients come in and think that they can solve it because they're used to watching it on TV and they get it solved within an hour.
That's right.
Do you have clients who sit down with you and say, well, isn't this just going to get over with like now?
Well, that's funny because that's kind of why I'm in the two. They're very two different areas of law. There's not too many criminal attorneys that also do bankruptcy. But it works out well because in the criminal side, I guess it's kind of a standing joke with criminal defense attorneys. Well, if your client gets off, it's because they're not guilty anyway. So it's nothing that you really did. But in the bankruptcy, it's just the opposite. These are hardworking people usually that have been struggling for years, trying to find a solution to their financial problems. And then they come to see me, and I'm able to say, yeah, we can take care of that. That's what this law is for. And usually, quite often, they're rather surprised at how quickly they do get the relief. So that's what's really neat about the bankruptcy era. I never thought I'd be, when I was in junior high watching Petrocelli, I never thought about being a bankruptcy attorney. It was the criminal side that seemed exciting.
I'm sure it's, I don't say a relief, but to be on that side of, I mean, you're helping either way, but
Yeah.
maybe a little less stress on you on the bankruptcy side?
That's right. That is right. Because the law, what you're kind of doing is walking them through the legal process with bankruptcy that's set up for them. It's not like you're going to have to go convince somebody that well, you kind of do, but it's pretty obvious usually.
Yeah.
Convince somebody that they're really entitled to relief. If it's an abuse, if they've run up their debt on purpose, knowing that they're going to file bankruptcy, that's a problem. And that's pretty rare.
So has a lot changed in your industry since the time you started?
The world, I guess the basics are the same, but the world has really changed. In fact, what happened, I was briefly a private attorney in Franklin for about 9 months before I went to Meadville. And I did do some bankruptcy work there. And I remember a secretary literally crying, typing up a bankruptcy petition. Because they used to be, I think it's 6 or 7 part multiple copy forms back when it was carbon paper, and if they made a mistake,
Wow.
they had to go white out every sheet. I think they'd use different colors on different sheets. It was just a nightmare. And then after that 6.5 years I was in the DA's office, I came out, and I found out that it was all computer-driven now. And I could actually update, and that's what I've always done, is when my client comes in the day that they're filing, I update everything. So, what's in their bank account is what's in their bank account the time they're filing. It's all electronic. It's all online now. Used to have to drive to Erie or mail the stuff to Erie to file stuff, and now it's filed while people, right after they sign it, I beam it up to, it actually beams down to Pittsburgh.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's all done.
Criminal in Crawford County, on the other hand, the technology hasn't changed a whole lot. It's still paper filing. I think it's just people are more comfortable with that. It is nice to have the paper in front of you. You don't have to worry about a computer glitch or something like that when you're looking through a file.
Sure. Now, of course, you're innocent till proven guilty, right? But today, it seems like you're guilty until proven innocent.
Well, especially in the media.
Yeah.
So much of it is, the Twitter stream has you convicted before it even goes out in the traditional media. So, yeah, that's a real bad thing on the national level. Not so much on the local level. I think the local media is very good about, even in the more sensational cases, saying they are accused of and things like that. And so that's
so you haven't really seen those issues down here at the local side of things.
No,
Okay.
no, I don't see that. We are definitely a conservative area, very law and order. Things that wouldn't get charged in most counties get charged in Crawford County. Like marijuana, like Erie passed a law saying they will not charge people with marijuana possession except under certain circumstances in Erie. Here in Crawford County, don't think it's worked its way down to Crawford County that way.
Wow. Oh, well, speaking of marijuana, of course, there's been a lot over the last several years on the legalization of marijuana, the medical marijuana. This brings up a couple different scenarios.
Yeah.
Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Well, one is, it's always been interesting because you think if you can go to Denver and smoke legally, that you can drive home and not have a problem with it and bring some back with it. You can't. And the judges are the judges I go in front of, and I practice criminal in Crawford County only. The bankruptcy I do kind of northwestern PA. But in Crawford County, they're kind of sick of hearing, well, it's legal, and so I just came back from California, and they don't want to hear that. It is illegal in Pennsylvania to recreationally use marijuana. You can now get a prescription, but one of the problems, I don't think they really thought it through in Harrisburg. The DUI statute that they changed about 16 years ago, when they changed the law, it used to be just a guess of when you were guilty of driving under controlled substances. Well, they specifically put in there that if it was a federally banned substance, you can't have any of it in your system, or even the metabolites of it in your system. So with marijuana, if you use marijuana legally, you can't drive legally because it is illegal under the federal statute that the DUI law follows to have any metabolites of marijuana in your system and drive, just like it would be illegal to have cocaine. The problem with marijuana, it stays in your system for up to, my understanding is up to 35 days. So
wow.
Yeah, so you could smoke legally in Colorado and drive home and not be high, but yet be illegal to drive in Pennsylvania for another 30 days. I don't think a lot of people realize that. Yeah, so if you're taking it, even though you have a prescription, if you're taking it legally, you still can't drive legally.
Is that part of the, if somebody gets pulled over, is that part of the routine
Yes.
check? Okay, so they're going to check for that.
Yes.
So so you think, okay, I've done this on this day, I'm all right the next day even. That's not going to be the case.
That's not true. There've been cases where they brought in experts with marijuana in particular, because I think that's the one that stays in your system the longest, where an expert would come in and say, based on the test, we know that person, the marijuana would not have affected their ability to drive for days, and it doesn't matter because it's banned to have any of its metabolites in your system. That's why they did it that way.
Wow. So what's the conversation like with judges or with lawmakers? Is this being brought up? Are they looking to change this at all or try to figure out how to address it?
I haven't seen anything. 2 years ago, before, I believe it was right after the law passed, but before it was effective, there was a person from PennDOT talking about, someone asked, well, what about a person with a prescription? And he said, it's just like with any other prescribed drug, that if you're driving and it's in your system, if it's affecting your ability to drive safely, you can't do it. So you could have a legal painkiller that you were prescribed, but if it's affecting your ability to drive, you still can't drive legally with that. They have to show that it was affecting your ability to drive. But with those banned substances, that's not true. And we're all looking, all the defense attorneys are looking around the room thinking, that's not what the law says. And to my knowledge, they have not tried to fix it. The person that was giving the seminar from PennDOT was surprised by the issue.
Wow. So does that make that difficult to defend? How do you work that then?
Most officers, I don't think, are pushing the issue. I have not seen a case with a person with a prescription. I think it could be that the doctors are doing a good job in warning people when they give out the prescriptions. I hope that's the case. But I don't think that was the intent, for people not being able to drive legally if they're being legally prescribed a medication. Obviously, they need to use caution, just like with any prescription.
Right. And this has been a big topic, opioid issues
Yes.
here, not just in this county, but all over the place. Does that just muddy the waters even more with the marijuana conversation, or is it just part of the debate?
It's part of the debate. It's really completely different. The opioid crisis, how do I describe this? Marijuana, it seems to be, it's kind of expensive from what I've been told by my clients. You don't see that many marijuana cases. When I was a prosecutor, it was all marijuana and cocaine. Now you don't see cocaine very often. There was just a big raid in Meadville recently, but it's pretty rare that you see cocaine. Fentanyl is so cheap that it's so easy to get sucked into it. That's the real problem. And it doesn't seem to me to be like alcohol. Alcohol's a drug too. Alcohol and marijuana, people can use it for years and not develop a problem. That fentanyl, the opioids, they could be dead in a matter of, well, right away.
Right away,
But
yeah.
usually, pretty quick. It's really scary. It doesn't seem to be a fun drug at all. You don't see too many stories about, oh yeah, I used to party up, 10 years ago, and then it got out of hand. No, it just gets out of hand really fast.
You're watching the Morning Drill on Stream Television in Armstrong and listening to it on the Allegheny News Talk Sports Network. We started out talking a lot about the bankruptcy side of things, and it's amazing. You flip through the channels and you see a lot of commercials. Call if you're having,
Right.
if you need help, and blah, blah. There seems to be a lot of that.
Yes.
But really, isn't it best to work with somebody who's on a local basis?
Yes, definitely. Because you want someone that you can call up 5-10 years from now when you're going to get your mortgage, and if there's an issue that somebody you can call, is going to be there to help you out. But more than that, the places you see advertised on late night TV, I see it all the time. I just talked to a lady from Oil City last week that had been for almost 2 years sending a payment that was not going to be enough to satisfy her debt. The thing that they don't tell you, and I'm talking about the so-called counseling firms, the debt negotiators, they stop the calls and the letters, so people think that it's immediately helping them out. But what they're doing is they tell all the creditors to send those notices to them. So you don't know how bad things are getting until the sheriff shows up at your door suing you. They will settle debts, usually the small ones first, but the big ones are the ones that are going to sue you. And that's what was happening to this lady. So she had spent all that money making that payment plan, and I see it all over. Of course, I'm sure there's successes, and they don't come to see me if they're successful. But what I tell people if they're considering it, I tell them, you've got to have it paid off in 2 years. If you can't have it paid off under that program, they're going to sue you, because most states, it's a 4-year statute of limitations in Pennsylvania that they have to sue you. Most states, it's 2 years. So after about a year and a half, that's when they're going to start the lawsuits. So if they're telling you, oh, we could do this, I had a letter I intended to bring in that I was actually mailed from a debt settlement company that said it resolves within 2 to 4 years. Well, that's a huge difference, because if it's going to take 4 years, it's not going to work, because they're going to want a judgment before that 4 years is up, possibly before that 2 years is up. So that's what you have to look for. And every now and then, extremely rarely, I'll get somebody that does have the money that they could, now they're back to work, they could make a payment plan.
You mentioned the client in Oil City. So who do you serve? Who can come to you and use your services?
Mercer, Oil City, Erie counties, and of course Crawford. That's who I work with. Forest too, but there's in Warren, but you have to go to either Forest or Warren County for those. But
sure.
Those are pretty much the 4 counties that I market towards. It's easier to do multiple counties with bankruptcy, because you have meetings, you don't have hearings usually, and those are arranged throughout the county. Usually they're not overlapping. Criminal, they have this. It seems like they overlap their trial terms in every county.
So who would be a good candidate to see you?
Anybody that's having trouble paying their bills, they just can't make ends meet. The sooner the better. I mean, at least give me a phone call. What I don't like is I got a call a couple weeks ago from someone who already had their sheriff's sale, and the month was up. They basically have to get a van and move out. Their house was sold. There's nothing I can do for them that late. You can file up to the eve of the sheriff's sale, but you don't want to wait that long. The typical comment that I get is, I'm so glad it's finally over. Most people have been struggling for 7-10 years, a long time. They don't want to file for bankruptcy. But once they realize that is a legal option for them, usually their reaction is, if I knew it was going to be this easy, I would have done it sooner. And I'd love to hear, after someone's retained me, I tell them they can call my office and we'll confirm that you're going to file. You don't even have to file to get the relief. They'll start calling me and we'll let them know, yeah, this person retained. We expect it to be filed within 2-3 weeks. And they'll stop.
Wow.
And there's the typical, it's quite often that people say, I can actually answer my phone now. And it's such a relief. It's nice to hear people can get their lives back in order that quickly. And it makes me feel good. That lady actually cried in my office. She was so happy. She'd been robbing Peter to pay Paul for so long. Single mom of a special needs child. When people talk about it being an abusive system, it can be. But the people I see, they're really people. It's what the system was made for, or the people that I see in northwestern PA that file for bankruptcy.
So really, the best thing to do is just call and have that conversation with you to see if they're the right candidate for this.
Right. Or just so you know that's an option you have before you get sucked into something else. I feel so bad. That's why when Nathan came to me to talk about talking on this show, this is the first thing that I thought, well, maybe it was the legal prescription
which is
DUI
fascinating
problem.
too.
Yeah, but I tried to put something on Facebook for that. And it got banned because they said I was promoting illegal drug use. It's just the opposite. I'm trying to save people from illegal drug use. But with this, I really wanted to get the word out about people getting suckered in. And I don't want to say sucker because I'm sure they do help people. It's not all bad. But I just wanted people to understand that the creditors aren't going to wait forever for their money. That's really what the bankruptcy is for. And most people, when they think of bankruptcy, they think of the Chapter 7 liquidation. But a Chapter 13 is kind of what they're looking for when they go to those debt settlement companies. But that's got the power of the bankruptcy court. The bank, if you follow the rules, the creditors have to accept your payment plan. There's no surprise knock on the door, 3 years into the plan,
right?
Saying this isn't going to work. It either gets approved or it doesn't, and most of them get approved.
Quick segment. We're going to have you back, though. Wes, if folks want to find you, get in touch with you, how do they reach you?
In Meadville, it's 814-333-9000 or rowdenlawoffice.com.
Great to see you this morning.
Nice seeing you.
There's a lot of other questions I want to ask you, but again, we'll save that for the next time. So
Great.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.